Welcome to the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev, where we explore and share experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week from across the games industry, helping you make the best game you can. Stay tuned for today's episode. Good morning, Overload Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dev Talk, talking to game developers from across the world to bring you experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week. Today, I'm joined with Karen Snyder to talk about her game, The Elements Club Unity March. But Karen, please talk about yourself first and how you got into the games industry.
Well, I'm Karen Snyder. I go by also Kiss Realm as a producer. I'm actually a transmedia producer and writer and director. And with transmedia is when you arc a story over at least 3 different media platforms with new content not repurposed. And in Producers Guild of America, it's actually the first new title they've created in over 40 years. So as the creator of the Elements Club, which is the world's first transmedia romance series, where the story arcs over ebooks, casual video games, online episodes, and live events, I did make industry headlines there for being the first to have created an interactive gamified romance ebook using my own transmedia software platform. And in October 2013, I was selected as a finalist for GamesBeat, Who's Got Game Innovation Showdown, where I presented my vision for romance video games. So my latest game is the Elements Club Unity Match, which is the world's first romance full-motion video match 3 game.
Mm-hmm. Cool, that sounds quite exciting.
It is.
That especially come from media and a romantic gamified media game book, which is different.
It is. It's the first that I know of where I included hidden objects in the text itself. So I was leveraging social media points and rewards within the book itself.
Not to mention it'd be quite quite favourable among target audience.
Exactly.
Kind of idea.
Exactly.
So tell me about your company then, or your team. Like Kazap, isn't it?
Kazap Company is a transmedia production studio. It is focused on developing immersive digital brands. So outside of doing my own entertainment properties underneath my company, I've also worked with other companies in assisting them, usually with marketing transmedia campaigns. Because transmedia is utilized not only for entertainment, such as you've seen with perhaps Sci-Fi's Defiance Project, as well as The Walking Dead, etc. It is also utilized for different companies for promoting their products. Coca-Cola has run different transmedia, as well as certain airlines, etc.
That's pretty cool. Quite a detailed industry. It looks like a interesting company because it's all over the place as regards to the media.
Well,
So
I should give credit here also, of course, to my gaming partners, Tangerine Pop, because I did leverage their Match 3 game engine, and they are an indie casual gamer. So I did pair up with them specifically for the game for the Elements Club Unity Match.
okay, so tell me then. Speaking of the game, the Elements Club, what was the starting point, and how did you begin the game? Was it totally from scratch, or did you get an engine and go, or
Well,
how
what I
exactly?
did is I built it because Tangerine Pop was very good friends, and we've already worked together on many other multimedia projects. When they came with their own game engine, I opted to leverage this because as an indie studio, I'm self-funding this entire thing thus far, primarily because investors, first off, are in the game world, they're not very used to romance. But in the romance world, they're very book centered. So romance is a 1.6 billion industry. It's the leading book genre category, not only for purchases, but also for repeat purchases. And of course, women ages 35 to 54 are the #1 leading casual video game players. So when I came at this, the book world is just completely unknown and uncaring about the video game world. While meanwhile, in the video game world, they pretty much don't know quite what to do with romance. So I was straddling these 2 worlds, going, okay, I think there's an opportunity here that's being missed. You can't say that women can't play romance or that we can't explore a deeper storyline, but it's a risk, as with anything. Match 3 is very much a in-out experience. It is not necessarily more of an immersive exploratory game experience, is it? It's much more of a gambling experience. So to be able to to leverage this and say, can we have a 250 levels, fill them with challenge and action, and also lust? Can we do this? So that is where I really wanted to reflect and see if we could capture the essence of a full story arc built specifically for the women who are playing, who happen to love romance. And honestly, I will tell you this. Elements Club has also resonated very much with men. I have an average 22% male audience, and in video, my audience men to women ratio raises up to 56%. So men are not alone in their love of period storytelling, nor in their love of romance. It's just actually been very nice surprise to see this. So that's what got me started in terms of seeing the audience potential, seeing what I thought was a neglected area, seeing what I knew was a already proven market, and then seeing if I could gravitate towards that, utilizing the resources that I had on hand.
That's cool. So gaming meets romance. And I've heard that there's increasing amounts of women playing games nowadays. That the demographics, that the average age is in their 30s now, and people playing games are in their 30s as well.
That is completely correct. Yes, they are. In fact, the highest level, at least if you're looking like on Facebook, etc., I mean, you're actually in the 50s. The 50-year-olds, 45 to 55, are absolutely skyrocketing in that particular demographic. Now, with mobile tablet in and of itself, then yes, you get even all the way down into the 20s.
Great. That sounds about right. So tell me, when it came to promoting the game, what strategies worked and what didn't work so well?
Well, keep in mind that we've only just launched, and the I do have, so I'm definitely seeing what I firmly believe in, which, since I've been already marketing the Elements Club prior to this game launch, because we already had the books, of course, and the online episodes, etc. I've already seen the power of content-centered marketing. Now, content-centered marketing dovetails tremendously into the transmedia strategy, because content-centered marketing is all about adding story. And when you add in story, you use that as a marketing. So you're constantly giving someone something rather than saying, push, buy, buy, buy. Rather, it's, hey, would you like to be involved? Hey, see this new thing. Hey, here's more story. So as an example, when I send out an email blast, it's not a promotion. It's not, hey, come play the game and get 20 gold. Rather, it's an express letter. It's from one character talking to another character, and you as a recipient just happen to be getting it, almost as if you got the wrong email. But with a tagline like, oh, Dr. Death is collecting more monkey tails, or Parliament is set to tax semen. Well, a lot of people can't help but click on these and open them. So I get extremely high open rates, and
Hmm.
people like it because it's suddenly they're immersed in a whole nother world. Instead of a promotion, it's, oh, here's a little bit of extra fun story to my day. And that is, again, a very different strategy or approach than necessarily the hardcore push it. And I've seen it be
Yeah,
successful.
keep it unexpected, and the click-through rate's generally higher.
Yes.
Unusual and unexpected. And when you say a content center strategy, are you talking like a new kind of or a different form or alternative form to content marketing?
No, it dovetails. I mean, the content-centered marketing strategy is always, you give them content as the marketing tool. You don't push something at them.
So we're talking like say as you said, dialogue in the game or
Yeah,
characters in
or
the
here's
game.
a ringtone, or here's something for you to be a part of, or here's the live contest. Another example is, in the next 6 months, I'll be holding a monthly contest for fans to win awards, such as tickets to live events at Heritage Square Museum, merchandise, or a personal phone call from a character in the series. So everything I create as a marketing tool is story driven, because I believe that the more people love the club and the characters, the more that they will willingly stay within the story world. And at the end of the day, regardless of it being a game or a book series or a film, the goal is to keep people in your world, because of course the marketing costs are the highest, and in the video game world, and especially the mobile, we're getting absolutely hammered. And as indies, we don't have a $45 million budget like Game of War, so you have to come at this with a strategic approach that is always consumer first. I want to help you with your day. I want to be a part of your day willingly because you like my world.
Start with why.
Start with why.
Yes. Why be involved? Why is it so good? So on and so forth.
Well, one thing is that When I looked and I researched this and I was talking to the women and just enjoying, because I like just talking with people. You have to as a marketer, I think. And as a storyteller, of course, you want to hear what they love and why they love it. They love the costumes. Okay, this is a very woman thing, by the way, which is why I had the costumes designers create by hand new costumes for my characters that are featured, of course, in the filmed segments as well as, in all the art. They love having rich dialogue and story emphasis. So this went into character development. They love the fact that it's period, historical period. So the why is generally, I want something that makes my day lighter or happier, especially if you're talking social media side. And in gaming, that is more related towards that category versus a book. A book is, I want a more immersive, but I don't want it too long now that I can't finish it in a couple days because I work so much. So again, it does vary a little bit on why they want to be involved, dependent on the media, or the strategy. But by and large, the world itself was crafted very strategically based on feedback. It wasn't just, oh, Karen likes Victorian romance, let's create one. I actually don't really like Victorian world too much. I had to grow to love it, and I specifically set it in the latter end of the Victorian era because I love business and science. And these are actually not topics that are too primary in the romance world. But I love them. And so I said, you know what? I want to have it so I can mix in real science of the time. I wanted to make it so that a character could call someone and it's authentic to story. The telephones were invented then. They could have a telegram be sent to them. They could have a quote unquote express letter, which is what I call, which is email. They had actual an express letter system at the time, which was actually going gangbusters in historical fact. To me, these authentic, rich moments impact story, and people who love detail, which in general, the women in a historical period as consumers do love this kind of detail, they resonate with it, and that locks them in.
Well, that's amazing. Great amount of detail. Attention to detail. So tell me, how did you go about getting press attention from magazines to write about you and such? Was there anything special you did or asked or?
Well, originally when the story launched, I focused only on the book publishing world because, of course, that's what romance is known for. And romance world, and I've gone to a lot of different conventions. I had the joy of talking with many, many romance writers. In fact, I lead the Transmedia Romance Group, which has 48 different authors from around the world who are also seeking to expand their story worlds into other media. I am unfortunately the only one who's really going for it with romance gaming right now, mostly because authors don't, of course, have the budget, and it takes an incredible amount of gumption to pull off something like I did when you're not funded by anybody. But there's definitely a lot of other authors who are now realizing the potential and want to get there. So the press has been mixed. The romance world doesn't quite know what to do with me because they're only used to books, to be blatantly honest. And in the video game world doesn't quite know what to do with romance. So they're like, mostly guys over there and the girls over here. The girls really, to be honest, they are not as much into innovation. Meanwhile, the guys are like, yeah, let's go for innovation. So it's been very interesting in that regard. The ones who really go for it in the romance world are like the serious diehards who are always like, I love trying something new. They're willing to talk about it or to deal with it. And I've had some really great interviews. I was interviewed also by Romance Writers of America, which is a 10,000 member strong group here actually in Houston, and also talking about transmedia romance. So they know that they need to move as an industry, but they haven't been sure how. So I've been doing my best to help lead that strategy and act as the catalyst to make more change to see the video game. As to the video game world, I actually have not been focused too much on them the last few weeks because my primary focus has been on, in all honesty, getting the game out and running smoothly on Facebook, as well as seeking fan engagement. Because generally what media, and especially in the video game world, want is they want numbers. Tell me the numbers. That's all they really care about. They don't really care as much about innovation or story. They just want, hey, are you growing? Hey, are you amazing? What are you doing here? And what are the numbers? So by waiting a few weeks and actually having more numbers, it's not necessarily a bad strategy because that only makes it more proven or viable story for them, and it looks good for me anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they wanted results. They
Yeah,
wanted results more than anything.
all they want is the results, or who did you beat this person, or is your app the best, or whatever. That's pretty much mostly
Mm.
what they care about, versus the
Sounds
romance world is a little different. They're more like story and what are you doing, and it is a different guy
so
versus girl, to be honest. It's very interesting.
yeah, sounds about right. So tell me then, did you get any negative press or problems from the fan base, and how did you deal with it?
Honestly, I've actually been surprised I haven't. We've been locked down for 10 days on Facebook, and I haven't been yelled at over anything, which I expected to be yelled at by now. I will say that my normal mode of dealing with conflict is to seek out the heart of the problem, and then, of course, if it's in my ability to fix it, to assist fans, especially counter the naysayers, because in the video game world in particular, you get a lot of naysayers, especially in free to play. I am preemptively creating help walkthrough videos of every level so that fans can know they can play through the game completely free if indeed they really want to work through it all the way. Plus, I am creating a fan deep help section for players who have some great tips of their own, so that is also on the rise. So these are preemptive strategies to deal with some of the top topics of challenges. The only real issue that I've personally seen is we've already been growing so fast without me even advertising yet that I'm switching up the media to a CDN server because it is showing lag times in certain countries. So what is proving right away is that people want the media and they are liking the story. And in fact, the numbers in terms of what they're purchasing, which I cannot release, is extremely good right now, and I'm happy.
That's good to know. That's good to know. We're working towards a goal on track. So, how is it you're getting QA and feedback for the game?
Well, because I already have current fans who are already a part of the series, just because the book launch and the videos came first, I just reached out to them and they provided insight on what was working and what was not. Many of them actually haven't played a match 3 game, so it was very helpful. And you, as having dealt with Q&A, you know how critical it is to see from both the experienced side as well as the inexperienced how people relate to a game or why. I would still say, though, there's things I'm looking forward to continuing to improve. Women in particular, statistically, it's known, they like having their hand held to know how to play a game. Meanwhile, guys are like, oh, I'm just going to make a whole bunch of mistakes and it doesn't matter. Girls are not that way. They're very much like, please hold my hand, show me exactly how to do this so I don't lose this level. So that is also, again, part of the reason why I'm making the walkthrough videos and trying to get as much help resources out there, because my community, in particular with women, they like it and they want it.
That's great to know. I never knew that women wanted more that they wanted their hands to be held as opposed to men.
Yeah, and again, we're
That's
talking
interesting
statistical
statistic.
averages. There's always the girls who get in there and they're like badass gamers who just go for it. But again, this is a general. Yeah,
Yeah, fine. It's the norm, and it's generally what happens. It's something that's a correlation and an average. Fine, that's interesting. I never knew that. That's worthwhile remembering. So, what was cut from the game, and why?
in all honesty, in this particular version, nothing was cut. In fact, I almost didn't have enough. I've been asked to have more video. Now, this is, of course, a catch-22. Video is by far my highest cost to create. You're talking a team of 35 suddenly. And for an indie studio of a core of 5 of us to have just the video production side, that's a huge amount of people that I have to handle, which is extremely costly for those weeks of shooting. So people actually want more video. And the challenge is also when you're streaming a game, hey, that's actually more broadband cost. Plus, there's the issue of trying to manage the fact that it has to dovetail in story. So this has actually been interesting that already the feedback is, I want more video in this game. So for sure, with the third segment that I'm heading towards filming, I am actually very seriously considering just filming an entire film. Because in a film you actually have to cut actually more in the film than in the video game. Video game, I can go on rabbit trails, and that adds to the world in and of itself without still losing the primary focus on that particular romance. But in the film, you have to be very cut and dried. It's only the romance. That's all we have time for. Get it done. And the book, of course, you also have more leeway to add or enhance the world and the characters and how you know those characters. So each media does play or resonate off of each other. And from a writing standpoint, I have to actually be very strategic in what new pieces of story are added only to the video game that can only be found there, only to the books that can only be found there, and only potentially to the film that will be found there. So that real deep fans are going to want to go through all of those medias if they want the entire romance of that particular segment.
I understand. So I'm curious also, what was the biggest thing that you learnt while working on the game?
Oh God, I hate being an indie. Mostly it's hard because I have to do so much and I'm only one person. It slows development down. Now that we're really seeing traction, I am actually really hopeful because I specifically built out the game so that I could execute updates quickly. And this, as you know, at least in the video game world, is extremely important. It does almost act like a TV series as well. You have to be on it. You need that quarterly update with new levels and new content story. In the book world, they call you have your full-on books, right? But in the middle of that book series, you might have a novella, which is like 10,000 words, 15,000 words, really small. You might give it away for free or might have it be for 99 cents, but it helps to keep the fans coming back until you get to the big book. Same with video games. So the strategy is, sure, there's 250 levels for this particular romance. It's the first romance that's being featured in the game, even though it's the second romance in the series. But for the in between till I get to the third romance, I already have planned a holiday segment. That this keeps the world coming, keeps them coming back for more story, but it's only 50 levels. And that allows us to keep it growing despite being small.
Okay, I understand. So what was the worst thing that happened and how did you overcome it?
Thankfully, we do not have anything truly horrible outside of perhaps the toilets backing up on set. I can, generally there's usually some god awful story like we lost a whole bunch of code or, we had an accident on set involving stunts or whatever. But I can say we didn't break any historical items in Heritage Square Museum. That's huge because they actually allowed us, of course, into their historically furnished rooms. We actually are shooting with $1 million worth of antiques. It's a great honor, and they've never allowed anybody, even Disney, allowed in there. Disney only got to film exteriors. So things like this are always on my mind. Of course, I have fear actually that we're going to grow too fast right now, which sounds funny, but studios can break if they grow too fast. You have to have a solid team, and you got to leverage it wisely and well. So that's part of the whole, how can I as a creator keep creating but at the same time not leverage what we have and not have a worst accident.
Yes, there's no one way to grow a business and it is possible to grow too far too fast.
Totally agreed, and that's very specifically known. And generally, a lot of times, what happens if it's a really hit series, it's the problem is that you can't, as a creator, keep the characters intact because they'll start breaking it off or like, hey, go license this, that. Well, you know what? That's a problem because as soon as you don't have the creator of that series writing or keeping the integrity of the world, then it breaks down quickly. And that's why fans get angry. And we've seen that over and over, even in the game world, where some other person gets a hold of a franchise and they absolutely decimate it from the character's original positioning or the creator's original intent. So that's always that balance. You have to be wise about it and not just get greedy.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, so what was the best game development purchase you made?
We could not have
Whether
created this project without Adobe Suite platform. I mean, the hours I spent in Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, Premiere, Flash, Audition. I mean, this game is totally Adobe creation. That plus a strong dose of Apple.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what game development related book, lecture, or learning resource can you recommend?
Well, I actually love reading through GamesBeat because they always have excellent articles and resources. So I'm pretty much a fan of VentureBeat slash and their subsidiary GamesBeat.
Okay. So, like an Evernote or Trello, do you have a useful or productivity enhancing software, app, extension, or website worth sharing?
Tangerine Pop likes to use Trello, but I honestly find it really limiting. I actually prefer Rike as an online team collaboration software. And for team meetings, Join Me, we absolutely both adore that tool. When dealing with script collaboration between cast members, I like using Adobe Story.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And lastly, Karen, what advice can you give to aspiring game developers, small indie studios, and people trying to get to where you are today?
There have been so many days, especially these 3 years, when I just sit at my desk telling myself, don't give up. just keep going. I always think of little Dory, in swimming. Oh, gosh, and I can't remember the name. Finding Nemo, and she's like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And you can't focus on the bad news about mobile indie studios not making it, or publishers that are out to screw you, or that King will threaten to kill you if you in any way threaten their cash buy. I mean, you just got to keep your head down and stay focused. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I mean, so much of this is out of my control, but at the end of the day, I know I'm living the dream, even if it's only once. I'm doing something no one else has ever done. I'm pushing where no one else has ever gone. That's something that you can't easily define, but it's something that makes me go, hey, I did it. If that's all I get out of this, I did it. And the team has been such a blessing to work with, and people are a blessing to work with. You can't undermine the fact that at the end of the day, relationships are what make life worth living.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say. It's a lot of this comes down, especially when you're small, to being persistent.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Persistence, yeah. So, speaking of persistence, what is next for you, Karen? And what's the best way to contact you?
What's next? I'm hoping that I might be doing a panel actually at South by Southwest. There's a good likelihood that we will, because I'll be pairing up with two other producers, Sam Barlow, who you may know from his game Her Story, as well as two other producers from the interactive mystery series. And as to me personally, reaching out to me personally, usually what's best is to just go to my site, kazapme.com, for my company, and then there was a contact there.
Okay. That's great. That's great. So, I feel like you've just missed South by Southwest. Wasn't that like a month or 2 or 3 ago?
No, it's coming up in March, the game one.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they always have a lot of different pieces, but we'll find out hopefully within the next 2 weeks. We find out if our panel was picked.
Ah, cool.
Yes.
So, Karen, it appears that we're out of time for this episode of the Daily Dev Talk. It was great talking to you, and plenty to think about, and plenty to remember. I wish you well in future endeavours.
Thank you so much.
So, stay tuned, Overload Nation. More videos to come. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev. If you are a game developer that wants to get your name and game out there, and to share your experiences and stories, or you have feedback or opinions of the show, then contact me at info@gameoverload.co.uk. That's info@gameoverload.co.uk. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, more to come.